Can you see my screen here?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, excellent. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Just like everyone else, I wish we were out at the farm and I was standing in front of my grasses so you could see how great they look. But today I'll be talking about a portion of my master's research. We'll be talking about the traffic study. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So first, I'd like to thank the Florida chapter of the Golf Course Superintendents Association for funding my master's research. Really appreciated the opportunity to work in this field and work with these people, and I've honestly just loved my research. So I'm really sad that I'm in the writing phase for many reasons, but also because my research is coming to a close for me. So looking at this screen here, you'll see this picture of a golf course, and there's a lot going on in this picture. So first up, we see some trees that are shading some of the fairway areas as well as some of the rough. We also see a cart path, so we can assume that there is some cart traffic here. And this picture is really what my research aims to better understand, is how Bermudagrass cultivars handle tree shade, which if I were presenting on my shade study, which I won't be today, spoiler, Bermudagrass does not handle 90% shade very well. So today we'll be focusing on the traffic study, and we're really focusing on a direct comparison of these cultivars. I'll talk about these cultivars here in a moment, but they haven't been compared directly before. And a lot of them are used in athletic field situations as well as golf courses. So better understanding how cultivars can handle traffic stress, shade stress, all of these different stresses can help us pick better cultivars, make better recommendations, and keep better grass with less inputs. So this is a quote from my grant. It basically just highlights the fact that we're out here trying to understand how these cultivars perform. We're looking throughout the state of Florida, and we're wanting to have high performance expectations. So on a golf course, you want it to be near perfect. And I'll go into that in a little bit. But yeah, perfection is where we are aiming for golf courses. So these are the 7 cultivars. We have Bimini, Tiff Tough, and Latitude 36, Celebration, Premier Pro, Tiffway 419, and Tiff Grand. So like I said previously, research has yet to be done looking at these cultivars directly. Our research here is being conducted in 3 different locations. So I'm one location. My research has been out at Citra, which is about 30 minutes south of Gainesville. There's also been another location in the Panhandle at Jay, and then also down in Fort Lauderdale. So all of these grasses have been evaluated at those locations to better account for the differences in climate at each of those locations. Obviously in the Panhandle, they get a lot colder than we do, or Fort Lauderdale does. And this is important because the state of Florida overall is a top golf destination for the entire world. So if we only look at one section of the state of Florida, we're really missing out on valuable information. So we did a general assessment of our turf grass performance here. General assessments of our turf included some different components, one of those being our NTEP ratings, which you've heard previously. We also did a digital image analysis with images taken by a light box, and we did NDVI readings. I'll go over all of those up next. So here we have an image of some NTEP ratings. So NTEP is our National Turf Grass Evaluation Program, and that rates grasses on a scale of 1 to 9. So 1 is a dead grass, and thankfully in our golf course situation and in my research with our traffic study at least, we did not have any 1s. A 6 is a minimally acceptable turf grass stand, and then a 9 is your primo, your top, your perfect turf grass stand. So here are 2 examples of those. And this correlates to subjective data. So this is subjective data, and that relates to the fact that turf grass has a very subjective place in the industry. Like I said previously, when you walk by a turf grass stand, you can tell if it's good, you can tell if it's bad, and that's your own subjective information, and that is what a lot of turf grass goes by. So these images were taken with a light box. This light box to be exact. So a light box is so important. It's been so crucial and is really useful in creating a consistent light environment. So with these images, we're looking at dark green color index, or DGCI, how dark green that canopy is. And this light box helps us to control the light settings that we're taking those pictures with. So regardless if it's a full sun day or lots of clouds in the sky, this light box with the light inside will help us to capture consistent images. So that way, when we're comparing these grasses, if one is darker than the other, we know that that's a true difference rather than just some camera inconsistency or human error. So you'll see the battery attached to the back of that little dolly, and then the light box itself is composed of aluminum sheets. Like I said, there's a light on the inside there, and then you'll attach your camera onto that blue foam piece at the top. This is our NDVI, and NDVI stands for Normalized Difference in Vegetation Index, and that measures the live green vegetation, and it gives us a rating between 0 and 1. So 0, no live green vegetation, 1, all live green vegetation. So we want to have a value that's closer to 1, and this helps to give an objective backbone to our subjective data. So I can go and rate a grass a 9 all day long, but if I have an NDVI rating that relates more to a 6, then we're probably going to lean somewhere in the middle and recognize that those values go together. And this is important because it's an indicator of our turf health. So on the back side, you'll see different lasers, different sets of light are shot down into the canopy and then refracted back, and that is where we get our live green vegetation value. This is a picture of the plots from a few weeks ago. I just love this picture. I could stare at it all day. I think they look excellent. We created some borders there, so we sprayed glyphosate to help keep the cultivars separate from one another. It also just aids in data collection when you're working quickly, and it just looks really clean. So this is the traffic study. These grasses, half of them had traffic applied to them. The traffic was applied by a modified Cady wear machine. We actually used a Toro model, which I'll show you in the next slide. We applied traffic 2 times a week for 6 weeks. We started that the second week of fall last year. I believe the week of field day, we actually put out our first traffic application. And we're doing the same this year. That would have been followed this previous spring, but that did not happen for obvious reasons. So we are continuing again. Traffic has started. We started last week. So if you're out there, you might see some traffic differences already, but we are doing that now. And like I said, we do that 2 times a week for 6 weeks, and we'll do that in different directions. So the first application of the week will start north and go south. The second application of the week will go south and travel north. And that's to help ensure that we're not consistently laying the leaf blade on the same side. We want to have equal traffic just to have a more robust example of traffic. Yeah. Cool. So this is a picture of me putting out traffic last year. Classic Florida October, shorts and a tank top, moving traffic. Yeah, so this here we have cleats on the bottom of our modified Cady machine to help simulate foot traffic. So think athletic cleats, think golf cleats. We also have those wheels to help imitate the wheels of a cart. And here I have, I don't know if hopefully you're seeing that. So a nice little pass there. Thank you, Dr. Cruz, for letting me film you there. So you can see how quickly all of those feet move, and doing one single pass is certainly enough for an adequate golf course understanding of traffic. The amount of force that that machine puts out is more comparable to football games. So that's why we only do 2 passes a week, 1 pass at a time. So some important data measurements that we took during our traffic applications before and after, to be specific. One of those is shear strength. So that measures the rotational strength of the grass. Here's me doing that. And this is really, I mean, super important for several reasons. So you want a shear strength value that indicates that if a cleat were to get stuck in the grass, the stolons would tear individually. So that grass would tear. Rather than that entire patch lift up and you create a hole, you're looking more for tears rather than hole formation. Additionally, you want your grass to be able to tear rather than your player's knee. And bottom line, shear strength indicates how strong that root system is. So when something gets into that grass and it turns it, how hard is that root system holding on to what has been put into it? So this value is really important to us. So very important. We took it every other week during our traffic application just because we were tearing up the grass a little bit too much when we were doing it every single week. And with that, we took our cleg hardness. So surface hardness, once again, important indicator of how your root and your soil system is doing. So with the traffic, we'd expect that surface hardness would increase, which it did. And how the degree to which it increases indicates levels of compaction. So as you're putting traffic out, you're compacting the soil, and these cultivars did show differences as far as the levels of compaction that each experienced. So speaking of results, let's get into that. I'll be mainly focusing on percent cover and then visual color and quality. So first up, we'll look at some percent cover. This is an interaction graph, so we can't gain significance from this, but we can see general trends. So to orient you, on your left, on your y-axis, we'll have our percent cover starting at about 20 down at the bottom and then going up to about 70. And then on your x-axis on the bottom there, you'll have last day of traffic. So this is a single data point. This is our last day of traffic. 0 here is no traffic. So these grasses that did not receive traffic, you can see had a higher percent cover. And then at the 1 where traffic was applied, you can see that as traffic was applied to grasses, percent cover did in fact increase, or decrease rather. 3 important things that I want to point out here. First is that TIF Grand seems to be a bit of a standalone figure here, a standalone cultivar. Once again, we can't gain significance from this, but we can see that compared to the other grasses, TIF Grand did seem to have a higher starting point and a higher end point as far as percent cover. Additionally, we would see that Tifway was here at the bottom. So Tifway was a lower performer here in percent cover on our last day of traffic. And then the third thing that I'd like you to notice is that this little mustard colored line is Celebration. And so Celebration had a very steep decrease in percent cover with no traffic compared to traffic applications. And I want you to hold on to Tifway and Celebration being lower performers because we'll see that as we continue. So here we can gain significance from this graph. If you haven't looked at a graph with 2 key letters before, any graph that shares letters, so AB here, are not significantly different. But graph bars that have different letters do show significant differences. Here we'll focus on the dark colors where 1 were the traffic applications. So here in percent cover, once again, we see that Tifway and Celebration were our lower performing. And that correlates to the interaction graph that we saw previously. So I could parse this out all day long, but main point, Celebration and Tifway, low performing. Once again, TIF Grand up in your higher performing group, as well as Bimini and Premier Pro. But main takeaways, Celebration and Tifway are doing poorly. Here we'll look again at visual color and visual quality on that last day of traffic. Once again, those dark bars are our traffic applications. And what we see once more is that Celebration and Tifway were our lower performing grasses. So this is really important because for those of you that work in athletic field situations, you understand that Celebration is used prominently. Celebration is the choice of many athletic field managers. Celebration has been on Florida Field. Tifway is also, they're both performing so poorly, and we wondered, why we didn't expect Celebration especially to perform so poorly. So why did that happen? And thanks to Dr. Billy Crow and his lab, we were able to do some nematode analyses. So here you'll see the analysis that we got back for Celebration, and you see that we have a moderate risk of root knot damage. This was back in June, and I will say that the nematode prevalence did increase throughout the season. And then looking at Tifway, we also see a very high risk of damage from root knot nematodes. So that leads us to our next steps. We did end up treating with NDVI for a nematicide treatment. So half of our plots now have received nematode treatment. So we'll get to see on those plots that received traffic, did the nematode treatment improve turf grass quality? Were the nematodes at play here? What's really going on? So moving forward, we're taking our second year of data. I'm writing my thesis, but I'm hoping to continue to collect some data, hopefully get some good things published in the near future. And that is that. Thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate it.